Okay, so welcome everyone, and I'm really happy to start this intermediate course. Uh, it's not an easy course because first of all, I was thinking about what does intermediate means. There are many people who do beautiful projects, but they all have different approach. So in these months, I was thinking, what does it mean intermediate? What does it mean? Because, for example, someone consider me an intermediate, but I don't have the same approach that, for example, Function Store, Dan Molnar, the guy of Python, I don't have the same approach. He's more systemic. He does everything clustered in Basecamp, and everything looks more professional and more clean. So somehow I arrived to define three different types of intermediate. I would say that the first type, like me, is somebody who can create a lot of TouchDesigner projects in a very short time, a lot of different visuals, or like you see a reference, you can deconstruct it easily in nodes, and then you can recreate the visual just because you know a lot of nodes, a lot of operators. But you go a little bit like an artist, like freestyle, like you put the nodes wherever you want and you don't share it with anybody because you work alone. And so you are like very fast producing good contents. And so this type of people are like people like artists, designers, that usually they work solo. Sometimes they can also be Patreon creators. It makes me think to, for example, Papanik, Kapitan Papanik. If you ever saw her YouTube channel, she creates like really nice, really beautiful networks, like not networks, sorry, outcomes. But then when you dive in the network, is a bit a mess. No, like I do, like when I do projects, it's very difficult to navigate them. So that's one type of intermediate. But then there is a second type of intermediate that maybe has a background of informatics or coding or engineering, like Dan Molnar. And the approach is more like everything is organized in base comps, everything is organized in container comps, and everything is optimized for performance, for best performance. And then I do believe that there is a third intermediate, which I'm not sure that maybe we can also talk in the future about this, which is the person who's able to connect the different Patreons together. Now that has the knowledge of all the Patreons that are online. Obviously, he's not a beginner, but instead of spending time creating from scratch new projects, he has the knowledge of saying, okay, I take this from MiniUV, I take this from .simulate, I take this from Joseph Bells, I connect media pipe, tac, 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 I spend $20, maybe even more, and I create a beautiful installation. For example, I don't want to say this is like, but for example, Julian Floria art. He does a lot of posts recently, beautiful projects, and he's using a lot of Patreons from other people, and he credits other people work, because in that way you become famous now. Because if I don't know, MiniUV repost you, then you get a lot of views. And so the course will be a mix of the three. There will be a little bit of organization of the file. Let's try to keep the files clean. But then I cannot just make a course intermediate that's just about let's do things organized and that's it. Because this is something that you become more and more efficient when you apply it to your own project. it's always the same topic. More time you do a certain action or a certain export, a certain action, a Python script or a Basecamp, and more you become confident with that functionality, and then you don't think to it anymore, and you just make it. So I start sharing my screen just to show you who can share. All participants, yes, and me as well. You already had briefly, you had a look to the overview of the course, this overview. Today we start with sound reactive systems. I don't know if to call it advanced, because I don't believe it's advanced. So we will cover today the topic of how to observe, understand, and then analyze the audio spectrum with a custom approach. So instead of using the audio analysis, we're going to start understanding easily, simply, how to crop or better trim the audio spectrum in different portions, and then analyze each different portion of the spectrum to create 12 channels that are reacting to the specific frequency. And that's because when we were talking with Stefan about how can we build up this course, the first thing that came out was the fact that I should have select some projects that I did in my professional life, that they can be converted into exercises. And this one, for example, was part of one of my projects, a recent project actually. And maybe I can show you a photo, or I mean, this is the file, and you have the file on the material page. So if you want to start downloading both the audio folder and the material, the file, you will also find an extra content, but that's a gift that I decided to include. I will come to the extra content as well. Let me just not lose my flow. I was saying, I wanted to show you. Not this one. I wanted to show you. Fantastic. A screenshot, which I didn't save. Seconds, huh? It's okay. Maybe I have some pictures I can show you. That's actually better. Yes. Like this, you understand the setup of the project, and then we don't need to stay too long on the setup. But okay, this kind of situation, you will also see me. This kind of situation where you have, in this case, was a piano, but then you have like single elements, like columns. In this case, are columns of LED panel, but they can also be like portions of visual mapping. no? Maybe you have like parts of the visual mapping which are connected to specific frequencies of the sound, and they will light up. So these were 12 columns all around the piano, and the client asked asked us to create like a sound reactive visual where each column could react to a different note or a different frequency of the piano. Okay, so they were reacting to the different notes somehow. Okay, so this project, how I approached it. First of all, I was super scared because I never actually observed the spectrum of a piano. No, because you know that the guitar, the piano, the voice are in the medium frequency of the spectrum, while the violins, snare are on the high frequency, like the tss or the violin. And then you have percussion kicks on the low frequency. So what I did, and I started by importing an audio that you also have it. This audio I just downloaded from YouTube. So it's nothing special, it's just a piano solo. And the first thing I did, I observed the audio spectrum. And what I noticed mostly is what I was telling you before, that the frequencies of the piano are usually always in the medium part, in the middle part of the spectrum. Okay, and this approach to start observing the spectrum and then understanding what to do next, it's something that can happen also not only with the piano, but also with other type of sound track like experimental, minimal, I know, like Ryoshi Keda. I put this example of sound of Ryoshi Keda just to show you that, for example, if you analyze the spectrum of this audio track, maybe we can just combine the channels so that we have only one spectrum, and we can connect this. You see that those high peaks, no? This is the pee. So even sounds that are like this, that are like isolated, no, in certain part of the spectrum, somehow you can do the same kind of approach. You observe the spectrum, and then you trim the spectrum in the area, in this area where you have the high peak. And then with the analyze shop, you can analyze this portion of the spectrum. No? So that when you have this type of sound, you have a specific visual that gets activated only when this sound comes, which is very different from using the audio analysis, because the audio analysis is divided in 3 areas, not in 10 or how many you want. Okay. So what we will start to do, it's mainly this component audio analyzer. Oh, by the way, take a look to the organization of this beautiful file. Huh? Amazing. Yeah, it's all clean. All the different layers are in different containers. Sorry, base comps. You have the custom parameters for each different layer. Actually, on the page above, you have all the custom parameters of the inner containers. So of the inner, base comps. And for example, if we render off this layer and render off this layer, then we also have this one divided in white bars and render red bars off. And then you have only the white bars, which are this first component, this first base component here, which is white bars. And here you find some of the custom parameter that you find here. I left it for you to continue to complete it if you want to, add other parameters that you will find here that are binded. And so they are like purple. And so we will try to focus mostly on this audio analyzer, which is exactly showing the different frequencies. I don't know if the sync is perfect with the audio and the video, but these are the 12 different areas. Why 12? Because there were 12 columns. So obviously I had to decide it based on the hardware. But these different areas, if you dive inside, they are the same logic copy-pasted 12 times. All right. So we will do this first line of operators. Okay, and then we will just copy paste it 12 times and merge the result. And I need to also get some, this is the first lesson, I need to test if it's tuned on your expectation. if we are doing something that you are curious, or if it's too simple, also could be a feedback, tell me. If you don't say nothing, it's okay. I guess that it's something that makes you curious. Okay. So another thing that you have to keep in mind in these lessons that we will do is that every project that you will encounter in this course, it's not about complexity, it's about time. It takes time to finish it. So we might not have the time to finish it. So we need to select which containers we're going to do. I have obviously an idea. I want to show you this mainly because what happened is that I did the logic like I wanted to, and I had the channels moving with the sound of the piano, and I observed it for a long time, and I said, okay, this might work well because it's well distributed. And then I used this container as a tox file, this base comp as a tox file, just by copy pasting it in all the files I created for the event. Okay, and I did that in 2 weeks. That's why I have different files and not one unique file with a scene changer, because there was no time to put together particle GPU with flex solver with different visual. So I used the approach of saying, okay, you want 5 visuals in 2 weeks? Yes, but I need to have, a pause, an interval between one visual and another one. And this for a media production, it's easy. They put a machine in between, and they switch to some screensaver for a few seconds, and then they go back. and the screensaver was one of my visuals, basically. So I know that everyone wants to do like big files with a lot of optimization. It's something that it's not even intermediate. I do believe it's kind of advanced to have. Then let's start. Let's start with at least creating these first operators. No, like this, we do some nodes together. And then we will decide if to do one of these layers. I will obviously explain them to you. Mostly the number 4, because this one is the one I like the most because it has this possibility to, the one behind, it has the possibility to change the sort. So you have sort sub. So this last container, it's basically the logic for the instancing. And the instancing is a grid of rectangles, as you can see. So the geometry doesn't change. We will see that we can change the point ID. The point ID would be the distribution of the points on these lines. So just by changing the sort, you can obtain, if there is music, a different type of sound. Let's start. Different type of visuals, sorry. Let's also make them a bit more scaled, even more. So this is the random distribution. This one is sort by X. So you have this trail, and the trail length defines if you want like faster trails or longer trails. So that's the 360 frames. So the trail length, it's this parameter that's connected to trail chop. And then obviously if you change the sort and you say by Y, then you get this type of visual, but the geometry doesn't change. And sort by proximity to point, you obtain this type of semi-arc, because then you can move the point down and up and create different distributions from the left to the right. Obviously, these things you do it before switching to sort by proximity. And so this is obviously like one of the different visual I brought. And the component which I kept in all the different visual is this part here. I forgot something very important, which is the first approach. First, as intermediate, like, you know, the one that is organizing everything nicely. It's whenever you want to use a control panel for your visual, do a separate container. Like in this case, as you can see, we have this container, which is the control panel, and it's filled with operator viewer or parameter comp. This one are like different viewers of the of this composition of sliders. So somehow I try to keep it simple, but with a certain logic, like for example, this parent logic, so that if you move one operator, then the others that are connected to it, they move together. So you can move a block of comps together with the parenting option. I don't know if you know that parameter comp can visualize parameters. So this is connected to the project one, which is this container that has custom parameter divided in pages. And then the parameter can, I mean, it can be like all the parameters in one page, or if you hit page names, you can divide it in multiple pages. But this for me was more handy. So container is this one. Operators viewer are visualizing chops and mainly the singular area keys. And then these two sliders that you can see here, trimmed audio spectrum. These two sliders, as you can see, they are here, trimmed audio spectrum. And what they do is that they export the channel in the other container. This is only the boring stuff. When you have two different containers, for example, and you want to connect the channels coming from here to the other container, you can connect them directly from here to there, or if you prefer, you could, for example, merge all of them. Let's imagine that we have two for the moment. And maybe the math chop, no, it's okay. You can do it here. And then you can use this null that you can call sliders and buttons and select it on the other container. So this would be approach number 2, where you have all the sliders and buttons entering in a long list of channels. And then on the other side, you might have the, sorry, what happened here? That's a bug. No, no more bug. On the other panel, you have the project. And here you can drag inside the select chop. You can drag this list of sliders and buttons, no? And connect them from here to the logics that you want to control in your project file. Shall we start with this part here from scratch?
Can you go back to that the container that you were just in? I'm just curious, like the nulls that you have there now are using another technique where it's got the little purple callback things.
No, there is no callback here. It's just exporting,
Oh, okay.
as you can see, in the project one. So my message was this, it would be like an approach if you just have a few channels that you want to redirect in your project. So you choose them singularly, and you copy the export inside the project. This one goes into the trim chop. So basically it goes to control these two parameters. So these two channels are coming from control panel null 2 and null 3. So this would be the first approach. Another approach would have been, I'm gonna remove the export so I can redo the same thing with the other approach, which is I have my channels in the container. Let's imagine we don't have this anymore. Here, I don't even know if to do the math chop here, probably yes. And then I have this null chop, which basically includes all the sliders I have in my control panel. And then I select it on the other side where I have my project container. So the boring part is just this kind of split screen that you have. And then once you have all the sliders entering in your container of the project, then you can easily select each individual channel, like value. They should be also renamed the channels into start and, but it's okay. Trim, and then you can export. So this would have been the second approach when you have a lot of sliders and buttons and you don't want to jump every time from control panel to the project one. Because in the beginner course, we were doing the interface inside the project one. Now, whenever you want to create an interface that you want to use to control your visual, force yourself, maybe not at the beginning of the project, because maybe you are creating the 3D setup. Maybe in the middle, start to create another container where you will place all your UI so that the things are separated.
I was wondering how you made the UI of the control, because inside a different element, but you can see where you place and is on the screen, like where
Wait, your
each
voice. Wait, Owen.
Oh,
Your voice jumps.
can you hear me now? Or is it hard?
Try to turn off your video. Maybe it will work better.
Yeah.
Try now.
How about now?
Yes, now it's probably better.
Okay. Yeah. I was wondering how you create the layout of the control panel. Like, how did you organize?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this one is actually it's a topic of layout. So these components, for example, this big container, as you can see, it's placed there on the top right with some margins. This is something I also explained in the beginner course, lesson 1 or 2. But it doesn't matter because I talked with Dan, and Dan told me like, you didn't introduce replicator in the beginner course, and I was like, no, because replicator is a technique that for me is not for beginners. So we have different point of view on what does it mean beginner, what does it... So basically, how did I position this container one, which is there top right? First with the anchors. Anchors, these are like the, maybe I can turn off all the others. Let's turn off everything and let's keep only the container number. Oh, oops. Let's keep only the container visible. What's this thing here? Panel, display off. So to set, let's say, this usually starts from here. Whenever you place a container, it doesn't matter. First, you define the dimension, width and height. I usually use the standard resolution, and then I multiply the standard resolution by 1.2 if I want it bigger, or 0.8 if I want it smaller. Okay, so that it keeps the proportion. This is for the resolution. Then for the positioning, you can use a combination of anchors. So horizontal mode is left anchor and horizontal origin. If you want to place it in the middle is 0.5, but then you have to place the origin at 0.5 so that it's perfectly in the middle of your container on the level above. If you want to place it on the left corner, you go 1, and then you have to move the origin at 1 at the maximum. So now it's snapping on the on the right side of the container. And then you do the same for the vertical. So you can anchor it on the top. And then from this position, top right, you can go down 30 pixels in Y manually and 30 pixels in X, so that you create a little bit of margin. So that's the way I positioned it, a combination of anchors and X and Y. And anchors are cool because if I change the resolution of the container above, the anchor is not based on resolution, but on percentage. So it can reposition itself even if I change the resolution. Let's display on all the components of this UI so that we have them. And I would say we start from an empty file and we start creating this first part. Keep in mind that if you have any type of question, you're more than welcome to make it. And also keep in mind that among the different things I have to explain today, I also have an extra content file, which I would like to dedicate sometimes because I created it for you to play with. But it's actually a work in progress for a client. So I don't know. I mean, yes, you can share, but not too much. You can do sharing, but not too much. I'm using a 2025 version, which is the one with the new pop family. And I'm gonna start by, first of all, I'm gonna start by saving the file as usual in the folder lesson 1 of intermediate. You see how many files I did before selecting those ones I wanted to include in the course. That's we're gonna call it 01 WIP. Yeah, same name, ADV Sound Reactive, Advanced Sound Reactive. Also, this will be the WIP. We can also add white bars. Why I save before importing any file? Because when the file is saved in the same location where your external file is, when you import the external file, the file path is starting with the name of the subfolder. And this is another tip that you maybe don't consider it important, but please, every time you create files with external videos, external audios, double check, triple check that the path, it's not starting with C // users Nima. It has to start with the name of the subfolder, or else the person that will receive it, it won't find, it will have an error here. So this one is the piano, and we can place it in a math chop to combine the two channels together, to analyze only one spectrum and not two. Combine channels average, like we want the average of left and right, and then we can create the spectrum, all right, audio spectrum. And then usually what I do, I observe the spectrum for quite a lot, and I look at the spectrum and I'm like, oh, interesting. Okay, these are the high peaks. I start to understand that there is no low peaks, that there is no high frequency. And so the next would be, I want to start trimming the spectrum because I would like to analyze each different portion. Now the goal is to have at least 12 different channels that are reacting to the different portions of the spectrum. So I start trimming. And trimming, it's very simple because you can start from you can trim from the start and from the end. It's very simple, but I need to explain a couple of things. First of all, the unit values. So here is expressed in temples. No, you know now better than everyone that index are the synonymous of samples, and that we have here 22,050 index. All right. That's the length of the spectrum in index. All right. But we don't want to use the index unit value. We would like to use a number that could adapt if the length of the audio spectrum changes, because the length of the audio spectrum is based on the sample rate of the sound. So sometimes you might receive sounds with a different sample rate. Maybe they are higher quality. By the way, let's trim with fraction. You know, fraction is this percentage symbol. Fraction. Okay. So the fraction doesn't care about how many index we have. 0 means start, 1 means end. In fact, if I start trimming relative to the start, if I go 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, you see, I'm already cutting the medium frequency. And I can arrive up to 1. If I arrive to 1, then I have only 1 index. Nothing, no? I cropped all the spectrum, all right? So from 0 to 1. And if I start from the end, what that would be? It would be negative. Now, from the end, I trim minus 0.1, minus 0.2, minus 0.3, and I can arrive until the start, minus 1. So keep in mind that fraction, percentage, it's much better than using the index value. It's easier, and you have more control. So ideally, I started observing this file and this spectrum, and I was like, okay, let me start to trim 0.1, 0.2. I wanted to arrive here, more or less. Also 0.3, and then I was, but these are not really reactive, so let me cut a little bit more. And I arrived to 0.35 from the start. And then somehow I did the same thing. Because it's true that it's good to be precise, but it's also good to give like, I don't know, something that you can remember. So I did it symmetrically, minus 0.35 even on the other side. Just because I knew that probably based on the song and on the position of the microphones inside the piano, which I didn't say that, but inside the piano, we placed 2 microphones, not 1, because the chords are far away. So we placed 1 microphone on the right and 1 microphone on the left. But I knew that I might wanted to start changing this trim. But I was satisfied with this, you know, this is like zooming on a portion of the audio spectrum. And you're actually trimming away all the index that you don't need. So from 22,000, we have now 6,600. Fortunately, it's not 66666. Yeah, it's almost. And then I was, okay, now let's create a null, because I know that I will probably need to bring my, let's say, my logics inside another container. But I usually, if I don't have a lot of mess, I don't start right away to create a base comp, because I can do it later. You can create base comp with multiple selection and collapse selected. So for the moment, I stay on this layer. But what I do, I start to select the result. And the result, I called it null trimmed spectrum. Just to give a name sometimes to the end of the chain. And then with the select job, you start selecting your null, just because later you might want to include this other logic inside another container or base comp. And then I started to say, okay, and now how can I trim 12 times? Can I create a logic to trim 12 times? Always using the percentage. And so again, I started to trim it because the final goal was to have 12 different analyses. So I was like, okay, again, I go in fraction because this fraction helps me, because if in the future I will change the first trim, no, and I will bring it, I don't know, between 0.4 and minus 0.4, then the second trim will still work because it will work on the fraction, not on the index. And so I just needed to do a little calculation, and I'm not very good in doing calculation unless I use the calculator. And so I used the calculator and I did 1 divided 12. And so I discovered that was the number. Obviously, 1 divided 12, you can also do it inside the parameters of TouchDesigner. And then I started to say, okay, so I have the end. No? In theory, I should go in negative to trim. No? I would like to trim, let's say, the first portion, no? From 0 to minus 0.9, that would be if I had 10 columns. But unfortunately, I had 12. No? So I started to think, okay, I need to do minus for sure. And then in the parentheses, I will have to place -1. It will go to -1, but -1 minus that number, which if I don't remember that number, I can do 1 divided 12. Actually, this you don't even need to put it in square brackets, because as our teacher from primary school was teaching us, divisions and multiplications are happening before sums, and voila. And so with this logic, or with this mental approach, I was okay, now I have the first area, which correspond to 552 index, but who cares? Because if I will change the trim, this first trim, and I'll bring it to 0.4 minus, I don't know, minus 0.4, oops. Then I will get a different length. That's why fraction and percentage are much better than using index, because it doesn't rely on the length, but on the beginning and the end of this tree. And then you might ask yourself, because I asked myself the same, okay, but the second one, like if I trim again and I want to take the portion nearby, probably it will be yeah, this one, tac, times 2. And then here, start, there should be the 1/12, right? Am I correct? No. That would have been Yeah, this result, which is 1 divided by 12 multiplied by 2. Correct. And then you have a second slice of the spectrum, which has the same number of index. So I was like, okay, so I can do it with this logic. And then if I do a third one, I just need to implement, no, and do by 3 and so on. So in the file I uploaded, I did this operation manually. We will ask you later if you want to do this operation with me digits, but I wouldn't suggest it, because for like, you can do it manually if they are just 10 me digits. It's when you have like 50 or more things to change. Now, then it's pretty simple, because you analyze this portion of spectrum with always RMS power, because the function RMS power is the one used in audio analysis. You don't need to use others. Analyze can be used also to analyze a chart of values, or like you can analyze some channels of instancing, no? And you can take out, I don't know, the sum or the highest peak value. So analyze can be used for many different reasons, not only for sound reactive. All right, and then I started to create a lag chop, because I knew that I might need different lag chops. So I created the first one. Because usually this is from experience, every time you have to deal with sound reactive, the lag chop helps you to filter the very laggy channel. That's usually, it's very unstable. And one thing that you will discover about lag chop is that the time slice is on. Time slice is it's a topic related to not losing frames or not losing information when the frame drops, when the frame rate drops. Time slice, it's basically holding the last non-cooked values, but sometimes it creates a bit of problems. So I don't know. It's up to you. I usually remove it, and then I use the lag chop just with a small value for increasing number. Do you know lag chop, how it works? Like, did you ever use it? Yes, right? For those one that did the beginner course, yes, for sure. Lag chop, it's basically a filter with two different cells, because you can assign a filter for increasing values. Increasing values is when the channel goes from 0 up, and then you can add one filter for decreasing values. So when it goes back to 0, you can have a bigger filter. This I personally call it the parachute effect. When you go down slowly, but you go up very fast. And then I created a math chop, because I knew that probably before creating the math chop, I used trail chop. This is also something I always say to my beginner participants, is this representation of the channel of this time slice is very difficult to read, because you cannot understand easily what's the range. Like, you know that 0 is minimum, but you don't know what's the maximum range. So I usually use the trail chop to observe the channel, and while observing, I can realize that the maximum value will be around 0.1, 0.05. And also in this situation, it's always good also to listen to the audio, because maybe you are watching, but there is no sound. Like now, for example, there is no sound. Then it will arrive to 0.1, more or less. No? So this is my maximum value, which I can remember and then write inside my Matchop, inside the range. No? I can change the input range that's coming from LagChop from 0 to 0.1, so that my Matchop is basically normalizing somehow the value. So it's like going from 0 to 1. And then when I think I'm almost done or almost ready, I start to copy paste this line. Actually, I am almost ready, but not ready totally, because the other logic I created in this, I'll show you in this analyze, it's also the trail. So what I did, I used the trail chop not for the observation of the channels, but to record the channels in time, so that I can reuse this for the visuals, for the bars. So what we will have to add, it's a trail chop, so that we can have then a merge for the singular channels and a merge for the trail chop. Okay. Then someone, in theory, at this stage should ask me, but Nima, why don't we do like all the Matchop after the merge? Why don't we do all the trail chop after the merge? And I would probably say, we can do that. I didn't do it because I was thinking that maybe I could adjust the single Matchops of the single columns once I was in location. That's why I left them separated. And the same thing was for the trail chop. I was thinking maybe if I keep them separated, I can trail this differently from this one. So that's why I keep them separated. But then I saw that at the end, I use the same values for all the Matchop and all the trail chop. So if you want, you can easily just delete them all and create, instead of multiple, you can create one. The main question for me, it would be, is this saving memory and how much? Because we are always there to try to perform better. This is 0.09 millisecond, nothing. And the trail chop, it would probably be a bit more, but not that much. Let's say 100 samples. Nothing. Like it's really like cooking every 7 milliseconds. So it's because sometimes we think, oh no, we don't have enough memory. We should do everything with like everything with POPs. No, because everything should be GPU based, but the CPU has memory, has a lot of memory, a lot of memory. And this is the example that you will find also in the extra content file, where I created a visual that's mainly working with the CPU, with chops mainly. So we're gonna add the trail chop to this first sequence. Trade chop, as you know, it's recording the channels in time. And the length of the window, right, is expressed in seconds right now. You know that the TouchDesigner is 60 frames per second. So if you convert these 4 seconds into samples, then you have 240 index. Now 60 by 4. And so this index is representing the frames, basically. But they're not called frames. Let's keep it 100, and later we're going to create a custom parameter for the trail length and a custom parameter for the matte chop. And then I might show you that here, like if I select all these operators, maybe excluding the select, I can keep it out if I prefer, or I can include it in. So if I keep it out and I create a base comp, then inside the base comp, I will get in chop, right? And this, you know, how to create a base comp, right? With the right click, collapse selected. You can tell me, no, Nima, I didn't do it until now. Please show me, or else I consider it that, you know, it's the first time that you collapse selected. It's not your first time, right? Okay. Dartar, did you say yes because yes, or yes because...
No, it's good, I did it.
Okay. So you can keep the select chop outside, or you can put it inside. What is nice about select chop is that when you use collapse selected, it will update the path. Before was just null trim inspector, now it's ... And then you can, for example, rename this trim 1. Because if you want, we can do a logic that uses the mi digits. Like this, we understand better what mi digit does. For example, if I copy paste this line, right? The only operator I want to change the parameter is this trim chop, because as I was mentioning before, I would like to trim this portion next to the first one. So I will add in my little, not even Python, it's just a calculator. I will add now between this 1 divided by 12 times 2. So that now I am going from 0 to 0.833. So this is double, because I should start from 1/12. So that's now it's starting from when this one ends, and then it goes to 2. So if I want to use these digits, this number here, I just have to simply type the expression mi digits, mi.digits. All right, which I can also put in big hello beginner, mi.digits. View in Python. Okay, so this expression takes the number here, so the result is the same. And if I do it also here, then this would be a different because I need to do here I have to multiply by 1, right? I don't want to multiply by 2, right? Because I'm starting from 0.8. And so if I want to have 1 and my me digits is 2, I can type me digits minus 1. And the result will be the same. So with this expression here, which I didn't include in the file, but maybe going back to me digits is always good. When I copy paste, the new trimmed area will have different values. And they are not correct.
You're missing the brackets.
I'm missing the brackets.
Yes.
Bravissima. Who was that? That was you? Oh, amazing.
Yes.
Thank you. And there I can go on with the copy paste. And I usually check if they have the same length. Like this, I'm happy. And then I start to copy 12 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then suggestion. Sometimes I select operators like this in column. Like I select all the math chop and then I want to change something of the parameters. So usually when I know that, I will just move them a little bit far away from each other so that I don't become mad when I want to select all the trail. Just a little tip that in other situations could be useful. And then merge. And merge all the things that you have from Matchop in one merge. And out, because we are inside the first base comp we created, right? Out, so that we create an outlet, which is this one. And then we can use the same merge for the trail chop. Selecting them all, connecting them to the merge, and then out. So that we also have the trails. Et voila. That was the main component, which I then used in all the different files. And I'm not saying that's something extremely professional, because it's somehow, I don't know, simple somehow to understand the logic, at least. Huh? And then once you arrive to this stage, you usually have to do the part of being a nice and clean developer that creates custom parameters. And so you start to understand which are your custom parameters that you want to use. And so customize component, as usual, is this option here. By the way, I discovered that Dan Molnar created like shortcuts for customizing parameters in his tools that are free. So you just middle click here and it will appear the component editor. Like he creates this kind of shortcuts with but we will have him at our last session. He can share with us all the tools that I do believe they are free. open source, but it's so the trail, right? The trail length is probably the first parameter I would like to control in my custom parameters. So usually the approach it can be that I can, for example, create the parameter in the page and call it trail length. And this is the parameter which is going to appear on the base comp, trail length. And I want to have a number that goes from 0 to, I don't know, 300, 200. It depends, even more probably. But you can do that in the aiuto trail length. You can do that in the customized parameters. So for example, we can do that. Just need to check. So you can do that in the range of minimum and maximum if you want to define it. But even if you don't define it, even if your range is 1 to maximum, you can also go over 1 by using the middle click of the mouse. So this doesn't mean that the number is limited. This means that the slider is limited between 0 and 1. So if you change this number into 100, then when you reach the end of the slider, you are at 100. So this is just if you want to use the slider between between 0 and I don't know 300 or so on. Don't forget also that for example, the default value is the value that you can set. For example, let's set 150. And this default value is the value that if you reset parameter, this will go to 150. And voila, then we can basically connect the trail length to all the different trail chops. You can do it once, bind, and it will bind it for all of them. Obviously, you need to multiple select, but they are all binded now to the master parameter. So master is represented with this little triangle. A reference is represented like this. It doesn't change that much because at the end you can also, you can also change the inner reference. And then it will pilot all the connected parameters to the master. So you can also use it from, what's the, bind versus export. All right. And so now it's time.
I think I missed something. How were you able to get the base component parameter window to show up and then also enter the base component?
So to show up this parameter, it's right click on the base component and customize component. So basically this one, it's an additional feature to create custom parameter, an additional feature of TouchDesigner to create custom parameters. So if you want to add a page, you can say, I don't know, add page test. And when you add page, then you get a new page called test. Okay.
Oh, sorry. I got that part and I was able to add the parameter, but then you were inside the base 1 component and it was still showing the base 1 parameters up there.
I was
so
inside
I guess right here, how are you able to connect the new parameter to the window length?
I got you.
You dragged and dropped, but I didn't see where.
What the heck? Oh, this is Sorry, I'm coming. Okay, let's not delay. So basically what I did, I was inside and I wanted to show the parameter of the parent component. So right click on the name of the file path you see here.
Okay.
And
Got
then
it now.
you have the same menu, right click. So you parameters.
Thanks.
And also new feature, I do believe, it's this one. Project, for example, show, what is it? Open floating network. I don't know if it's a new feature or not, but it's also cool. You can open the viewer, you can open the parameter. This is the viewer of the Basecamp. This is the para, but you can also open the floating network of project one on another pane. But sometimes I find it useful, especially, for example, when you want to drag a channel to a parameter from different containers. And now, with a lot of calm, I will ask you. As I prepared an extra content, which is usually the extra contents I will prepare are more engaging than the content itself, because they are like always based on the topic that we are treating, but they are a little bit more nice, because people will be like, ah, wow, this is what I want to do. This was not inspired, but yeah, the inspiration came from the agency, and the inspiration was, can you do something like Lucio Arese, this researcher that it's very, very good in what he does, because he's showing Lucio, this guy here. So I was, they told me, can you do something like that? Because obviously he's super famous now, no? And everybody wants to do the bird sound tracking. Did you ever see that? His popular post. Right? So that's also sound reactive. Did you ever see this type of visuals from him? So I created the same logic, and I thought it was useful to give it or to show it to you during this session of intermediate sound reactive visuals. And so you might recognize the spectrum, the audio spectrum, which is below. I can mute it now, right? Don't need to listen to the. So you might recognize this feedback loop of one line of pixel that are connected to the spectrum, to the audio spectrum, and so then they create this type of texture, right? Which is representing. But this is easy, no? You just translate of a few pixels. If it's too fast, then you don't see the spectrum anymore. But if you translate of 3 pixels every frame, then you get to see the spectrum in time. Then, of course, there are other stuff happening here, and this is blob tracking technique. I know that blob tracking, it's limited on non-commercial version, and that's also a question. Do you have commercial, educational, or you're still running on non-commercial, just to know? There are just a few operators that are
Educational.
okay.
I have the non-commercial.
Okay.
And
So
non-commercial.
okay. So when you will use the blob track, this is limited to 2 blobs in the non-commercial. But the technique is this. So I placed the first one to show you that you can easily just visualize blobs just by defining the threshold. Less blobs, more blobs, less, more, less. And by defining the minimum blob size. Because if you have like tiny pixels and you want to create a rectangle around them, you can use this number very little. If this increases, then it doesn't track blobs anymore. So this is just the operator, and you can already like draw the bounding of the blobs with a certain color. You cannot define the thickness. This is unfortunately, maybe they will add in the future a slider for the thickness of these boundings. But I created a second blob tracking here that I shared on the that you are find inside, which is using, okay, this is also like an additional this I forgot, this place is to remove. Okay. I used an additional thing for the wavy spectrum there that you might, you notice why? Where are them? Where are the wavy stuff? What? Sorry. Here. Wavy stuff. The display stop. It's usually a display stop. That's why I was looking at that. So I created, I don't know this. I used feedback and feedback edge just to create. And then probably the most interesting part is not the blob tracking, because at the end, this one it's using all the channels coming from this table dot, because blob track basically provides a table dot with UV and width and height, which are mainly the most important channels you want to use. UV is the position of the blob in U and V, and then the dimension. So you can use the table dot in a very simple way, because you can convert dots. First, you select each individual column, and then you can convert the dot into channels. And then we can merge the 3 channels together. So UV and ID. ID is for the text. And then here, again, this part, it's just to create the text, which is very, very interesting, because it's just one operator. And here I did this I show you later, this type of strange trick. But at the end, to create texts that are floating like in the position of the blob, you can use just a simple text stop and use specification dot, which I don't know if you ever heard about it. So the specification dot, which is also present now in some of the pops, for example, in pop, fuck, I don't remember. Something related with force, radial, I don't remember if it's that, but you can apply specification that to have multiple radial force in the same particle system or something like that. By the way, every time you want to dive deeper inside the parameters of an operator, because maybe you read something and you don't know what it means, you open the Wikipedia. That's a resource that it's super fundamental once you start to enter in this kind of intermediate approach, blah blah blah, because sometimes you just read one line and you understand. You see, like column headers must include position or X, Y, and text. And so you finally understand that with a simple table that you can create a position, and the position, they have to be expressed in pixels. So not in fraction, but that's easy because you just multiply the fraction by the resolution of the, this is 1280. So probably there is a math shop that does, yeah, 1280, because here you receive the normalized U position, and then you multiply it by the resolution so that you get the new values to position the text from 0 to 1280. Specification that, no? And the text which is written here is the ID of the blob. No? And sometimes having the ID of the blob could be interesting, could be not. If you want, you can substitute the text with another column of text that you can recreate. Or sometimes you can play with this substitute. This is what I like to do sometimes. I like to just go randomly. So if I show you this text now, it will be just strange characters, random characters, no, appearing in the position of the blob. And this is also very simple because the text, as you can see, changed into something incomprehensible, but it's all just made of substitute. Like whenever you find a 2, put this one. Whenever you will find a 3, put these symbols. So that you can use dots in a creative way, not only to create. So then the text 4 make some question mark and blah, blah, blah. And so at the end, you arrive until 8, 9. And so you don't have any more numbers, but you have a list of symbols that are then, I don't know. That could be an approach. It could, another approach could be, I create random values, and then I convert them in that, and I merge. Oh, I can also do it before. Instead of the ID, actually, I could just multiply the ID by a noise, right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you do the noise with the same length of this channel, so we can get it with Python or with InfoChop. The important is that they have the same length. So this 23, you can get it with InfoChop, which it's always my favorite way to get information. Length, you isolate length, and then you connect length to the length of the chop. And they should be probably -1. Not to be precise. And so if the random if the noise it's random, then you don't care anymore about the period and the harmonics, and you can define a number like amplitude, I don't know, 500, and then whenever you multiply this with the math chop, combine chops, multiply, and then you get only positive, maybe without minus. No, only positive. So only positive. Let's just move the offset to 500 as well, so that it will create only positive values. And there you still have this. You can create it. Hula. Table text column does not exist. Why? I changed the name. ID. It doesn't exist. Sorry. I need to connect this one. My bad. Sorry. And if you don't want to get this floating number, you can just define an integer with evaluate. But then you have to select. So would you like to...
You can just do that in the math too, right?
In the math too, yes, integer. Where is it?
On the bottom.
Integer.
It was on the bottom of the
Thank
first
you. Yes. Yes, and then you get integer number in the dot. Yeah. So now the question is, we still have another hour and 30, right? Minutes. In this second part, would you like to dive deeper into the logic, not of the spectrum, because this is done, the blob tracking is explained, but of the upper part, which is the line that it's drawing here with the trail chop. Like this line, it's kind of following a path that it's connected to trail chop. It's not exactly the low, medium, and high frequency. It's mixed with the noise, but that's because when you don't have low, medium, and like this goes to 0. I can show you also like what happens when you go to 0. The 3D model changes into something more like this, right? Because when you just have the low, medium, and high frequency that are creating this type of line, then when there is silence, the point goes back to 0. There is no sound. So in order to have a more interesting shape, I multiplied it with a noise chop to get a more interesting shape.
I don't know about other people, but I'd like to see kind of the walkthrough of how that upper part works. 3D stuff is kind of like my weak part of TouchDesigner, so I'm always interested in seeing it. I also had a really dumb question in the beginning.
No dumb question.
You took the audio in and you did like an average with the math. And is there any difference between that and just making it mono?
So usually it's just because if you do the audio spectrum, you do it just one time. But if you have, usually in production, you usually receive a mono mono microphones, mono channels. I did it here with average because this is basically it looks like a stereo, but it's basically a mono. Like these two channels are completely the same. If you, I mean, average would be the best if you have a stereo income.
Okay. Yeah, I'm used to just like clicking on the audio in and choosing mono because I never ended up dealing with both channels, but I didn't know. Like sometimes obviously you want both channels. But...
Yeah, you can also do like this. But then if you do like this mono, then if you connect the audio device out, will be in mono.
Okay.
So if you have a stereo, then you can have the stereo sound on the speaker, on the headphones, and then the analysis on mono channel.
Yeah, thanks.
My pleasure. So would you like a walk through this part here? Obviously, we will do it from scratch.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Oh, this one is another part. So as you can see, even in this file, I tried to divide the different part of the visuals in separated base comp, just because I was thinking, if I should share, if I have to share it with somebody else, then they will explore a little bit and they will understand that this visual comes from this base comp, and that the infographics or whatever you want to call them, they come from this base comp here, so that you can dedicate sometimes. Everything it's 1280. The only part which is not 1280 is at the very end when I created this layout. So for the people who has the non-commercial, you might have a question like exclamation mark here, because this one is 1280 by 2560. Okay, but it doesn't matter. It will just make the render smaller. So just this part here, it's non-commercial. I would like to do both, but I would like to do like a bit of where is it? A bit of this, especially the or maybe I can focus on that as probably. Oh. No, I don't think so. There is a question from Juan, but maybe somebody else will tell you yes. Is there also a blob tracking with the POPs family, which works with the non-commercial TD? Blob tracking, it's purely based on texture. No, it's like the texture operator that analyzes the video and takes out these little areas. And no, there is not a pop. I'm pretty sure that you can recreate the logic of blob tracking, because first of all, you can convert, top to pop. But these at the end are like the same colors, the same representation, just on points. So you have like 1280 by 1280 points. And that's why you have 1,600,000 points in total. And so I do believe that somebody would be like, yes, of course, if you do a GLSL pop, you can, analyze the pixels neighbor and define a minimum blob size and create little rectangles in pops. But there is not an operator that does that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, shall we take a break or do we go straight until the end? Usually it's good to have a break, at least
Break would be good.
10 minutes.
Yes.
And then we go on with the trail chop. I usually put music, so if you have any suggestion, you can feel free to send. Should I? No, you will have it. Thank you, Lynn. I usually just play one of the many random stuff. That was the last one of Bruno Mars, but you might have heard it recently, last week. Let's just put some chill synth wave. See you in 10.
Actually, I have a quick question.
Yes.
I'm installing. I don't know why I have the 2023 TouchDesigner all this time, and I didn't realize the pops were out. So I'm installing the 2025 version. Is there any reason for me not to install over what I've got? Because it says an option is to install it in parallel. Should I be keeping the old one, or the new one's fine?
It depends if you have all the because no. Okay, the thing that changes in the new is that some operators, even like, for example, display stop, now it has a Z axis. Before it had only U and V. Now it has a third parameter. It doesn't change anything if you open an old file, but just to know that some operators like chop execute, they have much more text, but you can install it substituting it with the previous one. I do parallel just because
yeah, I didn't even think I'm recording tutorials for my students all the time. It'll freak them out. So I need to have both, I guess.
Okay.
Because they're all using 2023.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
if you teach, keep the 2023 for the. At a certain point, you will switch to 2025, but for the moment, keep 2023. I will just go for a glass of water and come back. Okay, bye. So yeah, the break was really, really short. It's okay. So we start creating this one, which is a combination of trail chop, like we did before, and limit sop, but also instancing to create those little square. And then obviously we will discover other stuff, like for example, how to use the alpha channel to highlight the line when there is sound, or to make it disappear when there is no sound. Okay, pretty confident that it's gonna be easy. So new file, and we try to go through the exercise, the first part, starting from, as usual, saving the file in the folder where we have the audio. So let's say this one, and we call it whip. So that when I include the audio file, it's coming from the same location. Experimental sound. So this one, again, it could be placed in a device out so that you can hear sound sometimes. It's in repeat mode. This is something that I didn't mention. It's in repeat mode on, so it loops. In the file that you find completed, at the end of the file there is a little button to export movies, and this little logic which is at the end of the file, I try to explain it later. It's just to record movies. Maybe you can understand it by yourself if you know a little bit of yeah, because this it's easy. So we're gonna use the audio analysis chop now to get the 3 frequencies out of the tool. So we can take it from here and include it in the network, and then we can connect our audio there so that we get the channels coming out, and they should be enabled or else we cannot see them. We're going to use low, mid, and high. The only thing is that, as you might notice, low is not even moving. So this is the threshold. We can bring down the threshold of the low frequency so that it will start responding to the low frequencies. I don't know if you know that these parameters are binded with the interface, so that if you move the rotary potentiometer here, it's moving the slider there, and vice versa. So sometimes you might want to use this potentiometer, this. Then I'll keep an eye on, that's the main file, because I don't want to make any issue or error. Sometimes no. Okay. I see. Because sometimes for example, I want to know if I use the same threshold values now in the example file, because like this it will match also the result of the channels. Yeah, they are all like low. This one also is low, 0.5. 0.2. And then we have these 3 channels. The low frequency are the ones that are less reactive. So we can bring it down even to 0 if you want, like this. There is no threshold. It's a bit lagging, but who cares? And then we start to create the visual at this level. Obviously, after you finish the visual, you can include it inside a base comp. So I usually always separate with the select chop. I select the audio analysis. Like this, I can isolate low, medium, and high frequency from the parameter channel, mid and high.
I have a question about audio
Yes.
analysis. Is there a proper way to do the audio analysis by frequencies and not by fragments?
By frequencies, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because the frequencies are basically corresponding to the index values, right? Like this 24,000 index.
But then it also changes according to the sample rate, no?
It changes according to the sound, because now this one it's sample rated at 48.
Yeah.
1,000. So you can resample, sorry, without time slice, and resample at the sample rate of new rate 44,100. So then now it will be always resampled at this.
Amazing. And then I can just like use the index.
And then you can use the index. But also, if you want, because it's the topic, if you want to also use another method, this inside this one here, this is the method used inside the audio analysis, which is made by Greg Ermanovich. So it might be a good way to do it. It's using audio filter with the low pass. So audio filter has these 3 options: low pass, high pass, and band pass. Band reject, I really don't know what is it, but with the question mark, you can go on the Wikipedia. And then, so after filtering the low frequencies, he's analyzing RMS power. The core functionalities of this audio analysis are here. Audio filter analysis. All the rest is like math chop, limit chop, filter chop, and all these things are connected to the knobs and buttons. But the core functionalities are these 3: audio filter plus the analyze.
Thank you.
So that's another way. And also audio dynamics. This is the compressor. This is the compressor that if you know a little bit, you know what it means. I am not an expert of audio, but I know what is an audio compressor. But maybe I'm not able to explain it pretty well. Now, the part related to create the trail, it's made with the trail of these 3 channels is made first with chops. So you can create a simple trail chop, right? And these are like the 3 frequencies. What? Oops, I connected it to the wrong one. Actually, these two are not very sound reactive, the medium frequencies and the high. Maybe this one we can refine the audio analysis. Did I add some gain to it? No. Actually, the settings here are on the opposite. There is no gain here, and there is a lot of gain on low frequencies. But this is mostly about taking your time to understand if this is high frequencies come out. Should come out now. High gain. Oh, maybe is there a sample? Oh, yeah, a sample chop was not the nicest way. I want to see if I gave you a good tip or a bad tip. Change spectrum. It doesn't change the spectrum, but somehow did a mess in the audio analysis. So once you have the 3 channels inside the trail, no, you can see that here things are moving with the sound. You can see the different minimum and maximum range. And so you can start creating a simple logic that you can use to move this will become our line that will move around the 3D. We can make it maybe I don't know, longer than 4 seconds. You can define this in index or samples, and you know this will be converted in points in 3D. So if we want a lot of points, we can go 1000 points. They can be enough to draw a nice line and to no, actually, sorry, could be also smart to take the length of the audio file. This could be another idea that you can create the line that is long like the audio file. So here is file length. It's 1080 frames. No, file length frames. Yeah, it's 1080 frames. So if you want to, for example, you can make the line exactly like the length of the file audio. So it will be always repeating like 1080. And then you can also connect this to the trail length. Then it's pretty straightforward, because if you have this, which are your X and Y and Z position, pause, you can just create a chop to SOP to get the polygonal line. So chop to SOP will just create a polygonal line like this one. Obviously, the channels are called low, mid, and high. So TX, TY, TZ, they don't exist. They exist with low, mid, and high. So this one, as you can see, it will create a path that's a bit random, right? But that has this thing in common, which is that at a certain point, the channel goes back to 0. on X, Y, and Z on these three: low, medium, and high frequency. But this is basically showing us the frequencies in 3D. And so if the TX is not strong enough, you can refine the math chop. With math chop, you can refine, for example, the... Did I use math chop? Yes. Yes. For all the channels, actually. So I don't know. You can refine the audio analysis result from the select chop. You can increase the low frequency with a dedicated math chop. Usually in the past, I was separating the channel, making a multiplication, but then later in life, I discovered that there is this scope. So basically, you can apply one operation specifically to one of the three channels. So this is the scope. Asterisk means all the channel. If you select only low channel and then you multiply by 2 the low channel, then it gets a little bit larger in X. And so this one you can do it visually. My suggestion is that when you use the scope, now that it's to the low, and then you want to do another one for the high frequency, take a note of that. Maybe you can also color the operator with another color, so that you remember that this one has some things particular, and then you can just also add annotate to the to remember that these are math chop with scope, so that you can apply a math chop to the low to increase the channel, the low channel. You can apply maybe one to the high frequency and reduce the last, because it's in TZ, right? The blue one, you can reduce it, and you can do that again with math chop and scope high, and you can say, let's make it smaller, like 0.7. Okay, so this one is chop to SOP, and it's creating a polygonal line. There is this other...
Excuse me?
Yes.
Just really quickly, is there a hotkey that can give me the annotate box? It'd be nice to know.
Shift A.
Great,
I'll
thanks.
show you. Yeah, Shift A. Sorry, I didn't put my keyboard. Okay, so now, yes. Yes, Shift A, and you create an annotate box. And the second operator that can convert the channels into position, it's called limit SOP. What is the difference between limit SOP and the chop to? Is that limit SOP, first of all, we need to assign a chop to it, and we need to assign X, Y, and Z, like instancing somehow. You have to assign the channels low, medium, and high to the position. Then what is more interesting about this limit is that you can output, instead of a polygonal line, you can output a tube. right? Obviously the tube now it's too big, but the radius can become smaller. Okay, so you can have like a tube of 4 divisions. They will be like the segments of, so it can be more defined, or just minimum divisions is 3. 2, it will just create a line, a thick line. This also could be interesting. So if it's now, if it's a tube, it has a radius. All right. So you can create another channel to define the section, the radius of each individual sectors. So we can recreate another channel in the list, which can be made of the combination of the 3. We could take, for example, the 3 channels inside Matchup, and make like calculate the average, so that when there is no sound, the line will become darker and without radius. When there is sound, it will become larger. So we can create this logic by using another matchup with the middle click, and create like a simple average between the channels, so that we get only one channel. That it will be our radius or our alpha channel. So we could say, okay, let's make it with a bit of lag, so that this channel at least is smoother. It's moving simply between 0.0 something, so it's very reactive, and then it's going back in half a second, 0.5 seconds. And then if I trail this channel, actually I could just merge it and trail it only one time. Yeah, that would be probably a better idea. But in the file I sent you, there are 2 different trails. It's okay. So we can trail it here with the same number, or we can create a merge. Yeah, we can create a merge chop. And before doing the trail, we can include our new channel that we will have to probably rename with another name different than low. We can call it alpha or radius, if you prefer. We're gonna use it for the alpha and for the radius. And then we can just include it inside the merge. So it will be an additional channel that goes from 0 to 0.2, 0.4. So maybe we can increase the matchup of this channel alpha, so that it will arrive at least to 1 with another matchup. So if I observe the range 0, 0.3, all right, so that this channel arrives to 1, or even more than 1. Yeah, even more than 1 would be good, so that it will make a larger tube. So now I have a new channel, and obviously in the chop to SOP, I cannot define a radius because it's just a polygonal line. But in the limit SOP, I can define the radius just by assigning the alpha channel to the radius. So now basically the tube becomes bigger when there is sound and becomes smaller when there is no sound, when the sound goes back to 0. And if you apply it also to the alpha, or better to the colors, because then we can see them directly here, you can see the representation of the alpha in red. And you can observe that, yeah, more it goes far from the origin and more it becomes red. So in theory, if you apply it to red, green, and blue, then this will become more white when it goes far from the origin. So when there is no sound. And then it will become darker when there is no sound.
Sorry, this is boring stuff, but can you get that to where you can actually get it to show up in the perform window?
Get it to show in the perform window. Wait, what? In the
No, yeah. So here, like, can we get that limit SOP to show up in the perform window? Get it to an out eventually.
You mean like render it or something?
render it.
Yeah.
Render it. Yes. We can include it in a geometry. Apply the render setup. So like render, camera. And then I would say let's use the line material. Line, so that we can set up the camera position, the render size. Let's make a squared render, 1280 by 1280. We bring the camera closer. Oops. Bring the camera closer. Yeah, much closer. And then we can move the camera in X and Y to reposition us like in front of the, then these values can change quite a lot. So the view of the line can be even bigger. And then I start to understand that my line thickness, or let's say my line colors also, are not very well, like they are not showing very well. So the line material, it's dependent by the camera distance. If my camera is at a distance of 1 from the origin, right, it means that my near distance is probably 0.1, right? Because the sculpture comes quite close to the camera, and you can check that in the geometry viewer. So you can see that if the camera is at 1, no, the line, it's basically almost attached to the camera. So you can define that your distance near, it's almost 0, and your distance far is 1, which is from here to there. And then you can define that when something is near, it's big, like the thickness of the line is equal to, I don't know, 1. And when the line is far, and it will show up also in the render, when the line is far is smaller, like 0.1. And the fact that we are still not seeing the line is because we have this line color, which is dark, and far color also is dark. So, but also I'm forgetting something. Yeah, it's just a line. So the thickness of the tube should be smaller, because we are using a tube in this case to just replicate a line. And as we are going, we are using, yes, we are using a tube. So the setup of the line distance, near, distance, far. Usually when I'm lost in this thing is the color can help a lot. Yellow when it's near and blue when it's far. And then I start to understand what's going to happen if I make it thicker. So that in theory should show up more. Ah, it's alpha. That's the alpha thing, which is bothering us. So a lot of times the alpha maybe I can say alpha. Ah, I'm using the wrong channel. That's why. Fuck. I'm using low instead of alpha. That's why it was coming out strange. So stupid. Okay, now that the channel is correct, the line material, when it's here, it could be 1. When it's far, it could be 0.1, or you can define like different dimension. And you can also change the near color and the far color and bring it back to whatever dark when it's far, and near it's white. So this would be the representation of 1000 index of the low, medium, and high frequency of this file audio, but it's not really nice. It's a bit boring, I would say.
Nima,
yes.
I have a small question. When I go from the null position shop to the shop to top,
Yes, you get a question like an exclamation mark.
My representation is only in the axis X and Y, but not in the Z. It's just only in one.
Okay, you have so the low, mid, and high here, but probably the x-axis is the low frequency. So if the low frequency are very little, then the line is not moving in X. So
it can be.
What I did, I went to the back to
the low
after the select, and I applied the math chop only to the low with the with the scope.
Okay, thank you.
And then we are at this point. I was just adding a null comp to orbit around the camera with ABS time dot seconds on the rotation in Y by 10, so that the camera starts to rotate around my line sculpture, and obviously now the sculpture is rotating and it's facing the other side of the camera, so it's not visible until it reaches, you see, the near the camera. So this is again something that you can adjust if you change the distance far. If you go over 1, so now it's at 2, so it reaches until the other side. But then one of the things you might notice is that the representation is a bit this strange. it always goes back here. So then I started to think, okay, what if I add a noise? And if I want to add some random position, no, to this X, Y, and Z, I can create a noise with the same length of my trail chop. And the length, I can define it in the channel page. So I can define with index the same length that I have here. And I can just, copy paste this op info file length frames so that I get the same length. Actually, yeah, one input -1 so that I get this exactly the same length. And then I define the same name, low, mid, high, so that when I combine them together with Matchop, I just create the average, right, of the two, or I can add Matchop. I can create the average of combined chops. In this case are chops, right? So combine the average and then you get this result. And you realize that even the alpha, it's now combined with the noise, but you don't want the alpha to be part of that. So you read and you can find match by, instead of channel number, channel name, so that he will consider only the names of these channels. That's why I did two different trail chop. So that now here you basically have low, mid, and high by themselves, and they are combined with noise chop. Here I have the alpha, so I might want to include the alpha again in this list, or else I will have only the X, T, Y, and TZ. So I want to just add a select chop so that I can isolate the alpha channel and add it with the merge to the new channels coming from the combination of this noise with the trail. And what happens is this one, that the tube starts to get crazy. And this is a nice observation because, as you might notice, the noise chop is not moving, is fixed, while the trail chop is moving. So the trail chop is basically shifting, and so changing all the position of this noise chop. How to keep it fixed? No, how to not have this continuous movement? Well, you should simulate the same shifting, the same scrolling of the trail inside our noise chop. And to do that, it's pretty simple. You just have to translate the channel in X with the speed of the frame. So if here I go and I add ABS time.frame, it should stop moving because both chops are, shifting, offsetting to the left with the speed of the frame. So those numbers are following the trail. So you always have a fixed line, but you always have a different path. Every cycle, it's a new path because the noise algorithm keeps updating. And so then if you want to have, let's say, less randomness, right, and more close to the frequency, you can reduce the amplitude of the noise. But if you increase the amplitude, you see what it happens is that, okay, the noise is taking advantage of the situation, no? And okay, the line still follows the alpha still follows the analysis of the sound. And so next, because or else we don't have enough time to go through all the next. We have this small line representation. If we add lag chop, this line will become smoother, but we need to remove time slice. And we can also activate lag per sample or snap it off. Lag per sample, sometimes it glitches because it reactivates time slice. But it creates a smoother line, right? That's this filter. It can be even smoother, like too much. And then next we have the line that like this part of alpha, of making it thinner and also to make it not visible. It's important because or else you see also the back. Like you see the entire line, which is not bad, but so alpha on the colors, but also on the radius. And then we create a simple instancing. This is gonna be made of rectangles, so we can create a rectangle SOP, small, even smaller. I don't know how small, but I guess, yeah, 0.01. But this is something that you can discover it once you do the instancing. And how to do the instancing? Well, it's pretty straightforward. We go in a geometry comp, we activate instancing. The geometry comp is already connected to the render. And then we can use the null position. The same one we are using for creating the lines up, and then we can assign this low, mid, and high to the position of the square. And the material can be a wireframe. With topology. No, better to have a line material. So I would, just copy paste this line material there, so that when the rectangles are far away, they become darker. So I can adjust this width near, width far. I can adjust the distance if I want less rectangles visible, only visible when they are really close. The width of the line, and the line colors. If I want it always visible, I just go always white. If I want to go darker when they are far. But also, don't forget that you might create less rectangles if you want. No, you don't have to create one rectangle every point, because you can always use resample chop, and resample can create the same graphical representation, but with less index. And you can, you can define a new interval that you can set absolute, and absolute would be from 0 to how many index. Let's say, I don't know, 500. So it's like half of it. And so if you want to use less rectangles, you can create a different null. Ooh la la, and they will start to move on the line. Yes, because they are moving from left to right on 500. So that could be an issue. Tac, tac, tac. Quaternion blend. Quaternion blend. And that's how sometimes you discover that exploring, no, quaternion blend is not good. Interpolation change nothing. Need to find another way to have less. Yes, I know. Easy. Sorry. Easy. In theory, we can keep this crash. Oh, shit. Oops. And I obviously didn't save. Cool. Nice. Amazing. Very good start of the course. Amazing. Okay. Let's do like that. We copy this part here. Sorry. I'm sorry. So this part, we arrived to, we were explaining how can I create less rectangles, and I was trying to say, okay, we can create in between the null a delete. But I want to delete index, not channels. I don't want to delete channels. I want to delete samples. So I want to delete samples. Thank you, derivative, because I didn't know that you could use delete chop to delete samples, which are the index. And we can use 1 every 2. Do we have some logic? Delete condition. Less than value 1. Inside range, outside range. Oh, so we don't have the logic 1 every 2. It's okay, we can start understanding if there is any logic that can suit us. Where is here also? Okay, so that one would be deleting based on greater than value 1. Equal to value 1. It's almost everything. And inside range, it would define probably a range between 0 and 1. Delete compare channels does nothing. Uniqueness tolerance. Delete. One sample every 2, I would like to delete. Okay, and here I got a bit confused. What can we do to delete? What can we do? What can we do? I'm sure it's pretty simple, but I interpolate. No. Lookup.
So you were using resample before. Are you trying to find a different way to do it? Or?
Yes, because resample kind of works, but not perfectly, because by reducing the total number of index, for example, to the half, they will start shifting. They will start moving, you see, on the line.
Yeah.
So in theory, ideally, I wanted to, because they are actually moving. Easy fix. No. I mean, following the logic, if this goes 0 plus ABS, no, I'm doing.
Nima,
Yes.
you have created a SOP from the shop to SOP. You could achieve it deleting point from the SOP, for example.
I would probably do that because that would be my easiest way, because delete SOP has this range parameter on every 2. And so I would probably go from here to SOPs just with low. Actually, I have it already.
Yeah, you have already.
Yeah. Here. So exactly. Bravo, bravo. Yes, yes. Yeah. Delete 1 point every 2. 1 point every 2. Right, by range. So we get half of them. And then we can go directly from here to the instance. And yeah, the only thing is that we might have to use now P0, P1, and P2. P0, P1, and P2. And then let's just check if the rectangles are visible. Yes, and they're fixed in position. So the same thing now with the alpha, which is not included, but we can include it. CD3, we can say alpha. And then we can assign the same null tree to the scale and use CD3, which would be the alpha channel. I mean, you can also call it CD0 or CD1. It's just one, choose one of the attributes of the SOP. This topic of attributes, it's now very, very present in POPs. And then like you can, okay. CD3, it's the alpha. We can also assign it here. This is something completely new. Well, so that at least we can define how many points we want. One every 2 or one every 3. and so on. You can get, oh, 900 points, 900 points. Okay, yeah, 2 every 3, sorry, to have less. 2 every 3 or 3 every 4. Oh. Stop going crazy. Let's keep it all every 2. Who knows? Sometimes it's really like, who knows? Okay. Then, for example, he uses spheres, and then when the alpha reaches the sphere, like the scale attribute of the instancing can increase. So I would do the refinements with controlling the scale, maybe with textures or with chops, or probably creating a different channel called scale. But more or less the base component is this one. The difference is that he does it as a research, PhD research, so the frequencies and the channels that he uses are like very precise. But we are doing a pseudo representation because we are using a noise chop, right, to recreate this 3D. So, as there are other things in the file, let me also explain the other things that are happening inside this file, which is this one. Inside the infographics, there are 3 elements. One is made of little bars that they are showing some values of the same frequencies. And they are positioned in the render on the side. Then you have a very simple instancing of a little rectangle. Now that it's this one, like, sorry, it's this one. You can recognize it even better from here. So you have a pattern chop, which can also be a line chop if you prefer, but that's the same thing. Defining X, and then selecting the audio spectrum. And with resample, again, we define a length 200 index, and then we can scale those rectangles. That's easy. And then we have the numbers. The numbers is a trick I like to do. It's like converting a channel to data, to dots, and then use the dot in the text top, so that you create these moving numbers. Nobody reads them, so you just need a little animation of numbers moving from bottom to the top. So this is the infographic part. And then you have this last logic to record videos. I always use this sometimes because, you know, when you are creating whatever visual, then the client or whoever is asking for like videos, so you need to output videos. You can use obviously the export movie, which is a tool. Somebody prefers this tool. I personally prefer just movie file out because I don't know, it's easier. And so I usually call movie file out rec, like this. The name is shorter. And if I have to write operator movie file out one, I don't want to, I just write oprec and it's easier, faster. And the logic here is that whenever I press the button, I will start the file audio from the beginning and I will start recording. This info chop is connected to the audio file. So this info chop is connected to the audio file. No, and the audio file now is in repeat. But if I do repeat off, then it stops playing. I can also show you here. It's so repeat off, it's going to do it only once. And so when you want to record, I usually open this this expression here, and I write something instead of TD movie out. For example, I write video out, I don't know, just to make an example. And I keep this me file suffix because it's this slider here. And you know that when you create recordings, it's probably very common to export multiple versions of the same visual. So this is like easy to change. You just move the slider and the new file will be called differently. And so when I'm ready, I hit this momentary button, which creates a 01 and triggers this Python script. No, because chop execute is executing a Python script of function when you receive like off to on, for example, so 0 to 1. And while instead this info chop is taking the fraction of the audio length. And so when the fraction arrives to 0.99, this trigger will do like a 1 and then back to 0. And this trigger is connected to this parameter record of this operator record 0. So when you press this button, it will create a video file, a movie file in the folder where your file is saved, and it will automatically stop when the sound is finished. Now here we will tuck and stop recording. So you can have the video file with the same length of the audio, and then you have it in the same folder, and it's called video out 5. I am not an expert of codecs, but I know what codecs are. I mean, I'm not an expert of the H.264 codec, but I know that if you ask ChatGPT what is the average bitrate and the peak bitrate to have a quality video with the good streaming, blah, 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 or like you ask for a specific platform, like what's the average bitrate for Instagram, blah, 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 it will give you the information. And the settings, then you set them to get the settings of Instagram or TikTok or Facebook, they all change. I believe they change. And then I guess that's all about this little Python part here. Are you curious about Python more than other stuff? Just to take notes for the future. Did you know how to use chop execute?
Definitely interested.
Me too. I am also interested in Python.
Python. Okay.
Yeah, me as well.
Okay. Okay, so Python
Like
in the other file. Let's go see Python in the other file. You remember I was telling you that one of my favorite layer, whoops, sorry. Let's put this in full screen, is render white bars is the layer in front, and render the spectrum bars is the last section here. And this is the scaling of the bars. So you can have them like small or like bigger based on the sound. And so this Python script, yeah, sorry, logics. Inside this logic base comp, here there are the chop logics to create this this composition. And parameters, maybe we can just highlight this page. The parameters are basically changing. I'll show you, for example, sort SOP, right? You saw before chop execute that. Chop
Yes.
execute that. This is parameter execute. So parameter execute, it's looking at the grandparent project one, parameter sort by Y, this one. So when I hit sort by Y, this little script will change the parameter sort of this operator that now is at 8. No, because 8 would be proximity to point, this one, this. And so if I hit sort by Y, then this script will start, no? And it will change sort by Y, it will change the sort SOP to 3. Okay. So here there are multiple, just to keep things, yeah, simple somehow. But I would also keep it like this, separated. They all do the same thing, meaning that they all go on the opsort parameter pt sort and change this number. You see here it's 0, no, 2, 3, 6, and 8. What else is interesting about this file? And also, what time is it? Fuck. I also need to show you an anticipation of next week. What is interesting about this file? So when you're starting to build it, usually what happens is that you have this type of situation where you might work in the same. This is something that I experienced on myself because I was doing this file. And at the beginning, I didn't have base comps. I had everything here. All right. And it's working. This is the layer number 1, which is the white bars. So not this one. I don't know even how can I see them. I know them. Okay. So this is just the white bar. And also I wanted to dedicate a little time to this. Okay, technically is about understanding that whatever you do, you can do it at this layer, for example. You can also bind parameters. Now you can also start to bind them. For example, what do we have here? This range is clamp horizontal. Where is main bar clamp horizontal? So if I change this, it will change here. All right. And you have also the parameter execute. What is fun is that even if you bind it, even if you do parameter, even if you do select chop, and this is because they updated the versions over and over, when you select them all and you collapse selected, everything still works. The only thing that they still have issues to make it work is the renaming of this out 1, out 2, out 3. This I don't know why they don't arrive to make it But all the rest is okay, meaning look at the select chop, they updated. Look at the parameter execute, they got updated, right? They got updated, they should. No? Sort by X, sort by random. Ah, yes, they got updated. Binding properties. Binding properties are still working. So this clamp horizontal is still working. And this is about organization, no? So you can also start from the same layer, and then when you collapse selected, everything will still work. Binding, I do believe even Python expressions, because I remember I had the Python expression that was working. The only thing that is not working and that you might have issues is that you see now here is like this goes there, this goes there, and this goes there. And I do not like this. I do prefer that out1 is there and out2 is there. I prefer to be sure 100% that out1, out2, and out3 are showing up like this, so that I connect them like this. And you know why? Because when you have 10 logics like this, you want to not get confused. If you have to enter 10 times in 10 different base comp, you want the same structure. That's the only thing I would suggest. And then instead, the artistic part, I don't even know if to call it artistic. Oops. Show me control panel. Let's enter into container 1. So we see only this. Is that you can do hundreds of things with one simple line, because and all these things that are changing are happening in the logic, in the base comp called logic, whatever. This I deleted it and I redid it. That's why the custom parameter has disappeared. But I wanted to show you that you can clamp vertical, remove the clamp horizontal and have a different visual. But probably this, no? You can reduce the alpha to get more like sound reactive, length of the bar, clamp it. Oh, now I forgot all the beautiful stuff. Go down with the anchors or go up with the anchors. Now this anchor goes from 0 to 0.5. Then render another layer of red bars. This is below. Move it on the bottom. Sort it by X. And then single bars. And then I remember there was something else. This also was fun, but there is no music. Anchor length. Alpha 0 to make them more, and then you could create like straight lines, because this visual, for example, just white lines was working better than many other. And so each layer that you will find here, even like this, you see now they are like full rectangles. You can move it to the bottom and they will replicate like a VU meter, sort of. They're just, if they are randomized, the frequencies are not well distributed. If they are by X, now they are well distributed, like low and like, okay, low nodes and higher nodes. All the other layers are similar to this one. Here you have the red bars, which are very similar to the, and here you have multiple bars. In this one, I had fun because I oops, sorry, I wanted the parameters. In here, I created because this first, it was like an instancing of 12 different rectangles. And then I started to think, but what if I do an instancing of multiple rectangles? Where is it? Here you have one. So what I did, as you can see, maybe you can understand it from the positioning. This zigzag. So before there was one rectangle for each area. And now there are, we can find it, the information of the positioning here. 12 cycles, 144 of length. So now on each area, we have 144 divided 12. Well, sorry. 144 divided 12. 12. I'm really tired. I don't arrive to do 12 by 12. So in each area, there are 12 rectangles that are moving up and down with two logics. The first one is they just follow the spectrum. Move with spectrum. So where the spectrum arrives, it should be here. So here, in one comes from this. Oh yeah, these are the noise chop. So this is in one is coming from the noise. So there should be a select chop here. Okay. So this select chop resample to have 144 index. Math chop, I don't even need to explain. Ah, yes. Yes. Sorry, this one. So this is the spectrum. You see? And as you can see, the spectrum goes only up because obviously it's from 0 to up, no? And I wanted the bars to go up and down, but following the spectrum. It's a bit like it's stupid because at the end you don't see the spectrum anymore, you know? So what I did, I created a random noise with the exponent equal to 0 so that it goes only to -1 or to +1. And then I multiplied it by the spectrum so that the same spectrum sometimes goes below, sometimes goes up based on this distribution of -1 and +1. So that when I was using it, it was at least doing, yeah, the spectrum, and then I don't know why, but I also added a switch so that I could move with the noise and not with the spectrum. But the noise was still controlled by the amplitude of the music. This one. So each noise is connected to a different channel that is the 12 areas. And then I don't know anymore, like this last one I was explaining, you know, it's an instancing, and the most important part of this is the sort SOP, because when you change the distribution of the points, let's render off this and this, then you get, like, for example, the trail that are going up. Where is it? Here. So these are the trail. Here you can finally see the phantomatic trail length. Fuck off. 100. or maybe 50, they go faster. Now, if the trail is shorter, the movement is faster. So yeah, because the points are distributed like that. Next week. I hope it's gonna be fun. Next week it's how was today? How was the impression of everyone? Good. I am panicking for this intermediate course. Panicking. We're gonna do like spray paint.
Nice.
And the fact is that it's gonna be like a combination of instancing, particles, SOP, feedback loop, data mosh feedback loop, which is basically a feedback loop with optical flow called data mosh. You can click here and there. You can also write nice stuff like, of course, you can also make it smaller. Hello or hell. Yeah. So I think because I often see, this was actually triggered by a Facebook post. There was somebody asking, I want to do a spray paint. Okay, how we do? Tutorial, please. And so I was like, there is no tutorial of spray paint. Okay, let's do it for, I mean, a beginner/intermediate level. So ideally, in this exercise, I will go little by little and we will do it together, because this is my other approach. No, it's like, okay, I can show you a very organized file with all the things like in place and everything, and it takes time and we will never finish. Or we can go through files that we can actually do together and finish, but you learn less. I don't know how to say. You learn probably more in the moment, but if you think about the recording of today and maybe you can watch it in the future, maybe you get more things. So this, I don't know, this will be like a combination of SOPs, of instancing, because instancing is happening here. There is an error, but this error is not a problem. It's okay. It can happen. No problem. It's okay, because you have 0 point, but you cannot have 0 pixels. And so the instancing goes to error. So when there is no particles, this is the particle geometry, and the SOP says 0, then there is, that doesn't exist, it doesn't exist a texture of 0 pixel. So it cannot make 0 pixels. No, that's the typical error of instancing. Oh, you have one color, but 0 points. No? So I still didn't arrive to understand how to do that. Probably there is an easy solution, like just adding a point, add a point and merge it. But I don't know if it's exactly how I would do it, because then, yeah, you have a point in the middle. At least your instancing is okay. It says, okay, all good, no problem. But then as soon as you start, it goes to error. So you have to remove that point as soon as you click. I don't know. And it's easy. You just switch. No, you switch back to. But so sometimes having errors in your network is not that bad. It's just, when you start, it stops the error and it will start painting. Basta. That's the topic of next week. So we can talk about this next week. And among these things, I will show you data mosh examples or feedback loops. It's just super simple. It's a feedback loop with optical flow and display stop. We're gonna talk about optical flow. We're gonna talk about data mesh. Maybe I prepare a file exclusively for data mesh with a webcam. Not like the one of Neurotypic, because that one is already online on YouTube. Neurotypic, I love him. Great guy.
We're probably going to host him in Montreal at the end of April and do a TouchDesigner meetup.
I wish I come. Okay.
It'll be cold, but you're more than welcome.
I should come. Okay, this was the first appointment. And hopes it was good.
Thank you very much. Grazie mille.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next
Thank
week
you.
we'll do the full. We go from the beginning to the end. That will be next week. Sorry. Okay.
Nima,
Yes.
can I take just 10 minutes of your time right now?
Oh.
I'm just like working in a project, in a dumb project, but I got stuck in
I stopped the recording maybe. Okay.
Ciao, Nima.
Ciao. I
Bye-bye.
stopped the recording. Because like this. Bye bye.